7:53 a.m. So we dwelt quite a bit on what's happening in the Orange Democratic Movement House, the Orange House. And we thank you for those who've called in, and also your tweets. I'm seeing quite a number of them. Joseph Hakama saying, my thoughts have been aired by you. ODM will definitely sink. Okay, by who? Who's the you? If the push and pull continues. Steve Okumu says, my good friend, Honorable Gladys Wanga, should live with the reality that ODM is a national party. Ababu Namwamba is the SG. Well, they're holding that position together. Good debate. Gladys is always vocal, but today the facts are against her. How are the facts against you? And many other tweets are coming through, and thank you for staying with us. Before we move away from ODM, you had a comment to make on the last calls, the last two we had, in terms of the age question, which also leads us to the referendum conversation.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, it's not specific to ODM. It's more about Ababu and what is happening.
Yeah.
Ababu has borrowed William Ruto's script completely.
Okay.
There comes a time, and I agree to a large extent with what Mheshimiwa was saying. Power doesn't concede. It has. Yes. You have to make demands on it. And what Ababu has realized is that if he doesn't make the demands he needs to make now. He has 4 years to reinvent himself. And that's what happened to William Ruto after 2008, 2009, as we are going to now towards the next election. He needed to reinvent himself. He had realized that he was in a space that he had stifled his growth. That's what happened to Ababu. Ababu has realized that he needs to reinvent himself. And if he's not going to get SG, he has to figure out an exit strategy. This is what he's going for. Now, my warning to ODM, specifically in CORD, is that there's always this capacity to judge a person based on where they are right then.
Right. That
mistake was made with William Ruto in ODM. When he started saying he wants to leave, he might leave. The same comments I saw Kina Oburu and other people making about Ababu were made about Ruto. By 2012, the biggest mistake, it was an open secret, the biggest mistake ODM had ever made was allowing Ruto to leave. Ababu represents the new generation of leadership in ODM. It might not, even Mheshimiwa here might not admit or might not be willing to, might not have internalized it. But whatever is happening to him is most probably scary or a matter of concern to every young member of parliament or every young politician within the ODM fraternity. That feeling of, is this what would happen to me if I started speaking, if I had a divergent opinion from what the party is going, we had a different opinion. So they need to be very careful with Ababu. If he walks out, I can say this without fear of contradiction, ODM will not be the same again. Not because of who he is as an individual, but because of what he represents. And that is going to be the biggest challenge that they will have.
Okay.
But then also now moving to the wider scheme of the referendum. As I said, it is going to be an interesting platform to see the emergence of new politicians, starting with him, Ababu, who we've been speaking about in the morning. But then also, even across the political divide, we're going to see a lot of new faces speaking, the kind of people who are behind the machinations that we are seeing in Jubilee right now. We are seeing Sakaja taking a pretty prominent position. We haven't seen him do this prominently in the last year. But then now we are starting to see him, whether he's doing it in his own strength or under the strength of their party leader. But we are seeing now a lot of new faces starting to take prominent positions on the issue of the referendum. And that's why I said it is going to make or break a lot of political careers as we move forward.
Because for many Kenyans, biggest question is, you're not going to have 2 referendums or 3 referendums. So you have the Council of Governors, you have ODM, and Jubilee is talking about not being worried about that and thinking of their questions. So where does this go in as far as even involving all the stakeholders? We're not having the church saying we're not being involved in this, and yet dialogue was supposed to be where this was birthed from. Everyone involved, everyone on the same boat, everyone in consultation. What do you say to those who feel like now it's just been hijacked by the politics of the day and it's all about setting the stage for 2017?
Well, let me speak about Okoa Kenya. Okoa Kenya referendum push, which of course spearheaded by CORD, but has brought on board really as many stakeholders as they can get. Because when we launched Okoa Kenya at Ufungamano, if anybody was there, you could see that the politicians were not even in front. I mean, the CORD party leader did not even speak. Because what we were saying is Okoa Kenya is not about CORD, it is not about Jubilee, it is not about any political party. NAK Kenya was there, Peter Kenneth's party was there, but it's not about any of this political, it is about Kenyans as a group. And that's why we had the civil society, we had, several civil society groups represented there. We had the church. In fact, as a matter of fact, the master of ceremonies was actually a bishop of, I don't remember which church, but it was a bishop, So really, religious leaders, and if the Methodist Church feels like they are left out, they are welcome. They're very, very much welcome. And we have the committee of experts, which has nothing to do with politicians, and that is our rallying, point where anybody who has questions that they need to put on the referendum can actually go to. So Okoa Kenya, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Council of Governors and their push for Pesa Mashinani, but at least I know Okoa Kenya has structures that includes everybody, and it's really an open book, an open call for anybody who's a Kenyan who's interested in changing the direction that our country has taken.
Yeah. Ruto, the Council of Governors chair, says he expected some of these governors to bolt out of the Pesa Mashinani campaign. Some of them have announced, about 17 governors. So for governors, they're still trying to woo the MCAs and tell them, yeah, we're going to have this extra thing. So the biggest thing is, so everyone is just pulling at their end. Jubilee is talking about that limit and cap in age to help them perhaps still look relevant in this referendum question.
In my opinion, the only group that has a legitimate reason to call for a referendum is the governors.
Okay.
If Jubilee calls for a referendum, they will be playing politics, and it will be a response against what CORD is doing. Okoa Kenya, as far as I'm concerned, is pure politics. It's an anti-Jubilee platform. Anybody who has a problem with Jubilee is going to be in Okoa Kenya. Anybody who has no problem with Jubilee is going to be against Okoa Kenya. Now, the governance referendum push is actually very simple. They want more money in the counties. For many Kenyans, maybe let me not say it's a majority. For many Kenyans, there's a concern of what they're doing with the money they already have. Yeah, that's already a concern. And if I was my good friend Barak Muluka, who I worked with in the last campaign, has been made the spokesman. Anybody doing communication for the governors needs to start telling Kenyans what they have been doing with that money before they even try and sell us the idea of supporting them to ask for more money. However, the flip side of this is that it isn't very easy to diffuse the referendum momentum. All you need to do, and I had Sakaja speak about that yesterday, all this particular system and the tyranny of numbers, as it's called, has to do is pass the requisite laws, and they can't pass the requisite laws because if you pass a two-third majority in Parliament and Senate allows you to actually make fundamental changes in the Constitution. Now, if they decide to change the Constitution, first they negotiate with the governors and get them to come to some workable percentage, and then pass that law. What happens is that when they take that law to Parliament, the challenge CORD will have is if they refuse to support it to make the two-thirds majority, then they can't go and ask for a referendum for more money. Okay. So if Jubilee comes up with a bill that says we're going to raise the percentage of money to governors to this much, and we want you as CORD to support it, CORD is stuck in a position because if they support that bill, then they blow out air from the balloon of their referendum. But if they don't support it, then they go to they actually have taken a position directly opposite from the referendum. Finally, we had 8, as of news yesterday, there were 8 governors, primarily from Central Province. But there's some news item which I'm trying to look for. I can't find it. It was given by Capital FM sometime in the evening on a 411. About 10 other governors from the URP side also said they were pulling out. That makes 18 governors.
That's huge.
Now you need to make 24 governors to pass a referendum. So Jubilee just needs to get 6. And I just looking at some of the governors in CORD and how they've been relating with the leadership in CORD, you most probably get.
But when you say that the governors push is what is legit in this whole platform of referendum, it's not the first time they pushed for a referendum. They backed out the first time.
Yes.
After meeting with government, so it was said to have been a compromise there.
Yes.
So now how? Perhaps it's the same thing happening all over again.
In my opinion, the government is mismanaging the governors completely. Okay. Isaac Ruto is a Jubilee governor. The fact that you are having a fight with the governor's council run by a governor from your side of the political divide means there's something going wrong, and all they need to do is actually figure out how to manage that process. But then also the fact it's important to realize that the last referendum push, because it's the second one, just dissipated when the governors pulled out.
So then they're not serious. They should have stuck to the first one.
I think they negotiated, but then it backfired.
Let's take a call from George and we'll continue. George, good morning. Hello. Do we still have George?
Yes.
Hi.
Morning.
Morning. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to contribute on the fate of Namwamba. The likes of Namwamba, I believe, young men like us, we hoped that ODM is the only party which was more democratic as it presented itself to the people. Eventually, it turned out to be a dictatorial party against the expectation of the likes of Namwamba and the young politicians in the party. That's where you're seeing him coming out strongly, hoping that he will have grown the Democratic Party to become, to see his future in politics. Yeah, that is why I went to air my view that those who think that Namwamba is going to flop politically, he may come out stronger and make or weaken the party ODM. On the other hand, you don't have to be aligned to a party just because you support some individuals. The ideas and the ideals of that party and the wishes of the majority is what drives during politics.
All right, George, thank you. Your comments have been noted. Let's have Margaret as well. Is online. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
Habari yenu?
Mzuri sana.
Nasalamia huyo mama mwenzangu.
Nakusalimia pia.
Na huyo kijana mwenzangu na wewe mtangazaji. Sasa mimi nataka kusema hivi.
Yes.
Mambo hiyo ODM wanafanya si mzuri. Na mkiwa na party si mzuri mjisikie sana nyinyi ndio mnaweza mingi. Kwa sababu Pentagon ilikuwa hapo. Ruto alianguka na hii chama sana. Hata mimi mmoja tulitembea mpaka Muliro Garden, tukatembea na kina Miti Salad, tukatembea na kina Uhuru Kenyatta, wakina Anga Musyoka, tukijaribu kutengeneza katiba ya nchi ya Kenya. Alafu banana tip ODM ikajitengeneza chungwa. Muda si muda waling'oa Musyoka katoka. Musyoka kaenda akatengeneza chungwa na nusu. Haya, watu wote katika Kenya hii, Ruto hakuwa mtu mbaya. Ruto alipigania Odinga mpaka hata wakati ya kura KICC. Lakini kaka ya mwisho walikuja wakamtoa.
Margaret, tumekusikia. Wakati yetu inaisha, kwa hivyo tutaendelea hapo. Asante sana.
Kidogo niguze na Mwamba. Na Mwamba hata afanye nini vile akajuangi na Anyang'i Nyong'o wamesema atatoka, atatoka.
Sawa.
ODM hata wafanye nini miaka nenda miaka rudi watapata utawala kweli kumi.
All right, thank you very much, Margaret. And maybe let's move on. We moved on from the ODM wrangles. Let's change that tag to the referendum push now. So even as the viewers are watching, they're up to speed with what we are now on about. You wanted to make a contribution to what we were talking about earlier. At least those comments are some of the things we discussed earlier, and as far as ODM and Namwamba's role and the whole age question. But yes, first the governors, some would argue it's just politics they're also playing.
No, the governors actually do want more money. I mean, it's an obvious, and they might not want it for the right reasons, but there's nobody who doesn't want more money. So they actually legitimately and genuinely pushing an issue, and it is a single issue agenda. Okoa Kenya, on the other hand, first and foremost, you cannot do a referendum on insecurity. You cannot do a referendum on corruption. You cannot do a referendum on ethnic representation. It's already in the constitution. And you cannot do a referendum on implementation of the constitution. So in essence, except for the money for the governors, everything else they're trying to do can actually not be a referendum issue. There are other avenues to do it. That's why I say they are playing politics. It doesn't matter whether they win or not.
Because that's the same thing, the CIC, their position is also the same, that first, in terms of other avenues existing to address most of the questions raised by CORD, there are the avenues. Why insist on going the referendum way?
Okay, let me first say that before CORD pushed for a referendum, we said we want dialogue. We want to sit around the table. We want to agree on the issues. We want to build consensus and then use the existing structures to be able to move this agenda forward. This is what we said. And Jubilee said, no, we don't want to dialogue with you because we are the government, we have the mandate, we give us 5 years, let's talk about dialogue in 2017. This is the position we were at. Then we came to a point where we said, and I don't agree with Ngujeri Wambugu that only governors have a legitimate course to push for a referendum. In the first place, discussions within Jubilee circles, and when you listen even to Jubilee MPs speak on devolution or on governors, there is a deliberate effort to paint devolution and governors. First of all, there's a deliberate effort to paint governors as, thieves and people who are, siphoning money.
But why would that happen? And then they're still the ones backing out of a referendum.
Hang on. Let me just make my point. And you had Ngujiri Wambugu say that first of all, let them tell us what they're using the current amounts of money for before they can ask for more money. But we all know that there are functions that have been devolved. We all know that CRA has not worked out the cost of functions. So what is ending up happening is that money is taken to counties, and all of us are looking at governors to see that they are spending that money. But recurrent costs are so high that the amount of money they have left to put into, and when I talk about recurrent costs, I mean cost of, for example, paying for staff of devolved functions and the staff that they have acquired, and and for example, healthcare. I'll give an example of Homa Bay. You need at least 1 billion shillings to defray just cost of healthcare workers within a year, and so when you say that, first of all, let them tell us what they're doing with the money, and we all want accountability, but within Jubilee circles, there is a concerted effort. And even when Ngujiri says we will come with a bill and we will tell CORD to support a bill increasing monies, I doubt if Jubilee MPs will be marshaled to support money going to governors. And Parliament is a house of records, and you will see the consistent effort to demonize governors. And even to say, yesterday we had a heated debate saying return healthcare, for example, from the counties, return that to the national government. Will that really solve the problem? Because we do know that even before devolution, we did not have medicines within our health centers and clinics. We all bought those medicines from chemists, where the medicines had been smuggled from. Government medicine was being bought from chemists even before. And right now, the healthcare is still, limping, and there is a problem. But the solution is not to return healthcare, for example, to the national government. And these are some of the issues that we see consistently. The Jubilee side of government not really accepting with open arms devolution. And I agree with Isaac Ruto when he takes his firm stand and says we will go for popular initiative to get more money for counties. And Jubilee must ask themselves, when CORD pushed for the referendum, we pushed as CORD. Yesterday, TNA met as TNA and said 8 governors are pulling out. We thought we had a Jubilee government. Why wasn't there a Jubilee PG with Jubilee governors? And that shows you already that there is a split. And these 10 governors that Ngujiri is talking about can only be a rumor.
But as you talk about all of that in terms of the challenges they're facing and they need more money, on the other hand, the stories we've also been covering is how they're using money on travel. So, and wanting more staff, which will cost about 10 billion, the taxpayers, is those the priorities you want that money to go to?
No. We do not want those priorities. And
then how do you control that if the money already there is being used?
And we have controlled it. And you know that when we passed the county allocation of revenue bill yesterday, the day before yesterday, what we did was to put a ceiling, for example, to agree with the ceiling that the Senate had put on spending, for example, for county assemblies. And this is what we want to continue to do. We want to continue to strengthen accountability systems without killing devolution or demonizing devolution. And when you talk about travel and when you talk about corruption, and I do not support corruption at county governments, but I also want to say that it cannot be that, you know, county governments, the focus is too much on county governments as it is on, you know, as opposed to national government. Because now we had 8 billion was stolen, for example, from the office of the president, you know, and this type of thing should also receive as much focus as what the county governments are doing, you know, so we must be fair, and we are going to put ceilings, and county governments are nascent. They're only 1 year old as opposed to the national government, which is 50 plus years old. So we're going to continue to put ceilings, because everybody must have a cap on how much you spend on travel and so on, because human beings will always, you know, if you give them an empty a blank check, they will write as much as possible for themselves. So this, the controller of budget, the auditor general, must continue to do their work, and that is why we have funded more the auditor general in this budget 2014-2015, so that they can have branches in every county. They can continue to audit very closely how money is being spent. But let us put pesa mashinani. Let us, for the first time, I can tell you, with Devolution, you will see markets have been late. You are seeing tarmac in Machakos, whatever they say, you know, whether it's you know, so really, we have seen the benefits of devolution, and ourselves, the media, everybody, we must help ourselves to separate also governors from devolution.
And you've touched on Machakos. We'll go there shortly. Yeah,
my point is very simple. If you're going to ask me for more money, tell me what you did with what you have. And I do not think this is unfair. Governors have been in office for more than a year. If I was Isaac Ruto, the easiest way to get the public to buy into this idea of getting pesa mashinani, you are just 47 of you. You are 47 county governments. Let every one of those governments, of their own accord, do a basic accounting structure that says, this is the receivables we got from government. This is the payables. This is what we were left in. We are asking for this much. If we had that much last year, this is what we would have done. You know, it's one thing to say this argument that CORD as an opposition has been using, that Jubilee is fighting devolution, that Jubilee doesn't want governors. Jubilee is... we have had situations, legitimate, genuine situations of governors misusing money. We're not saying all of them are misusing money. Neither are we saying all of them are good. But then you can't... What the governors are asking for is a blanket allocation for all of them. While we already have, even within themselves, they know that some of them are misusing cash. So we need to have a situation of, first and foremost, to buy a blanket increase of money. And it is important. If we could move as much money as possible to the counties, we would actually have a much more stable country, because politics devolves.
Let's take a call. Raphael, good morning. Frederick, I beg your pardon, Frederick.
Yes.
How are you? Thanks for calling.
I'm fine.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead with your question or contribution.
My contribution is on the referendum. First, I thank the graduates for being there. Referendum, we have to go. Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, referendum, we have to go. And adding money to the counties is a must. But some people are saying, oh, it's politics. Yes, politics is there. Even the president is playing politics. The deputy president is playing politics, and everyone is playing politics. So, like the other day, you realized we had a problem with the health. The workers were not paid. They were not paid because the money has not come from the treasury. And even the treasury can confirm. So, it is politics there. So what we are saying, we cannot allow the county government to fail because of politics.
Thank you, Frederick. Thank you so much for watching and your question. Let's move on to the next caller. Bruce, good morning. Bruce? We have lost Bruce. Okay, Bruce, yeah, you can call back. Yes, you had a contribution. And also, finally, before, because I want us to also talk about a little what's happening in Machakos County with the governor and the deputy. In terms of, as I said at some point, we're not going to have 3 referendums at the same time. So either they'll be merged or there will be something that will happen. So is there a plan with CORD to join hands with the Council of Governors?
The issues the Council of Governors is raising is almost similar to one of the issues that CORD is raising, and therefore we hope that a committee of experts will sit with the structure that the governors have set in place to push for their referendum, to see whether there is a point of consolidation. So
you're talking, and the conversations going on between CORD and the governors,
and with the body, with the body that the governors have set up, and it's only natural and it's only fair to the people of Kenya for us to have those conversations, and therefore, and anybody else who has any other question, because Jubilee have also said they have questions that they want to put on the referendum. I have heard that they want to put, age limit, they want to put what have you. So anybody who has questions at the end of the day, I think we will only have one referendum.
Yes.
But let me come back to the issue that Ngujiru was raising as concerns governors having documents that show what they have done, and governors have documents. My own governor has a state of county report, and he has said, I received this much, I have spent this much on the following projects, I propose to spend this much on upcoming projects, if I had more money I would do so much. And as you said, the communications person, and I'm sure that the governors at the push for the referendum will bring these issues forward as to what exactly they need the monies for, so that Kenyans can listen and evaluate. But the documents already exist at county levels to be able to convince Kenyans that there is actually need for the referendum. There's actually need for more money, but there's also similarly need for tightening accountability structures as county governments grow.
We have about 3 minutes. Let's move from the CORD referendum to Machakos leadership wars, Machakos County. What do you think about what's unfolding there, from that impeachment that flopped to now being stripped of responsibilities and an empty office?
I'll have a very short comment on that, but then I'd like to wrap up the referendum conversation from my side by saying this. First and foremost, what we're having right now is referendum calls. We don't have a conversation about a referendum yet. Okay. We're having people have suggested we do a referendum. People, the group Okoa Kenya has to do their 1 million. They have to send the 1 million to IEBC. Then IEBC has to send it to the counties, who have to debate it and then send it to Parliament and what. The thing about our constitution is that you could actually theoretically do 15 referendum calls. Why do I say that? We have 15 million registered voters in Kenya. If every 1 million of them asked for a referendum, you'd actually have a competition about referendum. So I'm not very sure that this referendum will actually all come together. Okay. And this is where another place where Okoa Kenya and other guys are going to have a problem, because they will have to decide, should they have more than 3 or 4 referendum calls sent to the county assemblies and sent to the IEBC, which one will take precedence? Because we really cannot do more than one.
But I think at the bottom line, the IEBC then comes in to just be able to clean it all up. Easy for them.
Some of them can refuse. Some of them can say, we don't want to mix our issue with that one. Because remember, you have asked for the referendum. Yes, it's a matter of questions, but you can say we don't want to put our questions together. Because remember, it's like a bill in Parliament. If you combine it into a, what do you guys call it? Those omnibus. Yeah. You call it into an omnibus, you unapitisha some bills that you don't like with others that you like. Some guys might say, no, me, I just want Kenyans to decide on this question. Because you see, you asked me to say yes or no to a bill that has 5 questions. What if it's yes for the first one, no for the second? You get what I'm saying?
Inform him on that one. On the omnibus, what we do is you vote on every clause, on every section of the bill. So that's the same question with the referendum. If you have 5 questions, you vote on each and every of those questions. Okay. Just like if you have an omnibus law, you don't vote for it wholesale. Yes. You vote on every clause that you agree with.
So each question.
That would be an interesting IBC. But now coming to Machakos.
Yes, less than a minute.
Machakos is drama galore, in my opinion. I think it is quite clear that Mutua and Kiala cannot work together. Now, this is one of those things that we never envisioned when we were putting the constitution together. So he's gone into the Senate, he has not been impeached. I think Mutua, what I saw yesterday, if it is true that he actually went and broke his office, and now that is becoming petty. That particular point is becoming petty.
And also highlighted some of the cases in court.
Yes, that is becoming petty. I think it is very sad if you ran for office with a guy and you won, and then you start saying he has criminal cases. and you was your running mate. So I think they need to get out of the public, go and sit down and agree. We have to work together for the next 4 years. I don't want to see you again. You sit in that office, I will give you a budget, you run it. Because if Mutua is not careful, Kenyans love the underdog, and Kiala is gradually becoming the underdog of in Mutua's fraternity. And Kiala could very easily become Mutua's biggest headache for 2017.
Okay, very last comments.
And I just want to agree that Kiala and Mutua, they're joined at the hip. You know, and all governors must realize that them and their deputies, they're joined at the hip. They must find a way of sorting this matter out and working together. Because whether they love each other or not, the Senate has refused to impeach Kiala. He's back there. You cannot remove his seats and everything because he has a constitutional office. He has to sit there and he has to do some work. And therefore, emotions must be played down. Politics must come down. And we must realize, look here, we're joined at the hip. We must find a way of moving this together.
3.5 years to go.
Yeah, and like Gojiri says, if you don't want to see my face, okay, fine. Let me just stay there, do my constitutional role and finish. Because every constitutional avenue for removal has been exhausted with the Senate.
It's a warning shot to other governors. Because if I was Kiala and I had idle time on my hands like it looks like I will have, I would go around talking to the deputy governors and telling them, be careful that your guy doesn't do to you what my guy has been doing to me. And you can have an upheaval, a rebellion right in your office.
From deputy governors.
And I know they're not happy.
And we never hear much from them anyways. So thank you both for joining us this morning. Great conversation. Would have been great to have more time and talk about lots more, but another time for that.